You guys, welcome to season 3 of the Grappling Monthly Podcast. I am very excited to be here with Professor Mike Frausto of Ground Jiu Jitsu. Professor Mike, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful facility that we just got a tour of. Excited to kick off this San Fernando Valley season. We're really going to focus on schools around, everywhere in the valley, basically.
Nice.
Right? So,
yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. You guys, if you're enjoying the content from Grappling Monthly, please, by all means, like and subscribe, right? Share a comment if there's something you think we could be doing better. It's always welcome. So thank you for the support. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the social media platforms. So, yeah, without any further ado, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Mike, brother.
Yeah.
We actually met recently, like not through jiu-jitsu, but not on the mats per se, right?
Right.
At Legacy West Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe that like Ground is like 5 minutes from where I live, and I've never been here, so I'm a little ashamed of that.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
I wanted to get to know a little bit about how you got involved with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, how did you first come across it, and maybe tell us also, like, what made you come back for that second class?
Right. So I actually didn't start with Jiu-Jitsu as my first martial art. Mm-hmm. So I started off with Muay Thai. So Muay Thai kickboxing was like my first martial art, and I'd known about Jiu-Jitsu, had heard about it, and wasn't searching for it. I think it just came to a point where I had just saved a bunch of money, and I was like, all right, I just want to find a spot, just start training. And so I just started looking for Muay Thai schools because I played soccer for like 8 years. I was like, I probably kick hard. Like, let me just see if this is, up my alley and if I would enjoy it. And so I started searching for schools, found one in North Hollywood, which ended up being MTA, which is Muay Thai Academy of America.
Okay.
First Muay Thai school, that originated the instructors from Thailand that started in America.
Nice.
And so I went over there, walked in, there was no one there. Like, they were all in like the back office, so I didn't see anybody. And someone came out and said, oh yeah, just come back later, try out a class. So I came back in the evening time, wasn't driving at this time, so my dad drove me down. And he had me try out the class, and then afterwards, I loved it. I asked him how much it was. He gave me like the breakdown. Went home, came back, and just paid for the year up front. I was just like, I'm just going to do it.
Okay,
like, if we're going to be in it. Yeah, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay.
So I started training there pretty much like 4 or 5 times a week. Like, I was there nonstop. Started training when I was 20, and so I was young enough to be able to, recover and just get back in there.
Yeah.
And
I remember those days.
I know, right? We miss them. They're the good old days for sure. So yeah, I was there quite a bit, and then about 6 months in, I had friends that I had gone to high school with. They're twin brothers. They had invited me to the Gracie Academy in Torrance.
Okay.
They were training there for a little bit. They kind of lived in that area, and it was a bring a friend day over the weekend. So I went over there, got my gi, checked it out. Mm-hmm. They did like an intro class. They were, partnering with me, and pretty much like the Gracie sell of it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna put you in mount. Can you get out? Obviously, I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And so we did that one. I finished the class. I was like, that was pretty cool. Like, I enjoyed it. Wasn't sold on it. But it was also just way too far. Like, to drive to Torrance was just not even an option for me.
Right.
And so went back to Muay Thai, didn't think about it. And then probably within the next 2 months, they messaged me again. They're like, yo, we found a new spot. It's all no-gi. And so I went to Burbank, and it was actually 10th Planet Burbank.
Okay.
And so I went over there, checked it out. That was where I met my first coach. And at the time, there was like a bunch of brown belt coaches that were there that were all Eddie's students. But they were all kind of funneled in at one place. So all of like the top guys that you see now within 10th Planet that own schools were all at one point.
Oh, wow.
And so, it was cool to kind of get, the best of all worlds there and different styles, and just, it meshed really, really well. And so once I went there, I think it was just the no-gi aspect, something about it and the way it was being taught at the time. 10th Planet was very, here's this system, here's this pathway, here's this thing. And it was heavily name oriented. And so I thought that was like kind of cool to learn, like, oh, rubber guard from mission control to this and that. And that kind of caught my attention. So I came back for the second class, loved it. I was like, all right, let me see if I can do both. So I signed up, monthly, and wasn't able to go all in on that one, even though I wanted to, but just started paying monthly. And then probably like 3-4 months in, just having some, I was a young kid trying to like figure out money and all that stuff. So I hit up my coach. I was like, yo, I'm going to pause for, probably like a month. I was like, I just picked up more hours. I'm going to try and like work and save and I'll be back. And I for sure was coming back. But I think my coach was just in the habit of seeing people, say that and then just dip and never come back.
Yeah.
And so he was like, don't leave. He's like, just keep training. He's like, I won't charge you. Just clean the mats after class.
Nice.
I was like, I'll clean the mats 4 times. Like, class. Like, I'm good.
Never going to see cleaner mats.
Yeah, dude, I'm fine. I'll do that all day. So I ended up cleaning the mats. Every time I trained, I just finished the class, cleaned up the mats, and we were good to go. And literally from that point on, he like never charged me for jiu-jitsu again. So I paid for maybe 6 months in my whole like jiu-jitsu journey.
Okay.
And I was with him for the most part. So, he eventually left Burbank, started up Van Nuys, 10th Planet Van Nuys. And so I was with him for the most part. And then eventually I moved away to Orange County.
Okay.
And in Orange County is where I met my current coach, Casey Halstead, who now owns 10th Planet Las Vegas.
Nice.
And those dudes are doing, big things on the world stage.
Yeah.
You got Andy Varela at ADCC. So it's been quite a journey to get to that point. But
if I'm not mistaken, Andy Varela's in the upcoming UFC BJJ reality show. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So that's cool.
Cool. Nice. So something about, I think we're going to get into that gi, no gi conversation.
For sure.
Sooner or later.
Yeah,
We're headed like straight for it.
100%.
But, so did you keep doing Muay Thai at the same time? Or at some point did that drop off? Or do you still train Muay Thai nowadays? Or?
No, I still trained.
Okay.
I think when I had started jumping over to jiu-jitsu, I had still maybe 3-4 months left from the year that I had paid out.
Yeah.
So I was definitely balancing it. But then when I ended up switching over to just Burbank full time, they actually had a Muay Thai coach there.
Okay.
And so the coach at the time, it's crazy because all the coaches that were, jiu-jitsu coaches, wrestling coaches, Muay Thai coaches, every single one of them own their own school now and are doing incredibly well. So Coach Alder was my first coach. He owns 10th Planet Van Nuys. Scott Epstein was there at the same time. He now owns West LA.
Yeah.
The Muay Thai coach was Victor Acosta. He's now in like Venice area. He has his own Muay Thai school out there. And then Amir Alam was the wrestling coach there. He now is in Salt Lake City, owns 10th Planet Salt Lake in Utah. So it's crazy just to kind of see that all come about. But once it was all there, I was like, I just need to be here. This is the only spot I need. It's got everything. And, it was traditional Muay Thai. And then I had, a high-level wrestling coach that was, teaching us everything. So once I transitioned over there, I started to kind of get the bug to try MMA. So I was like, all right, I got everything in one spot. Like it's easy to make the sessions. I'm like, let me just try it. So I trained for maybe 2 years. I'd gotten my blue belt before I took my first MMA fight.
Okay.
So took my first fight. It was for an organization called University of MMA.
Okay.
They only did a handful of shows, but at the time when they were launching that, Dominic Reyes was one of the fighters on there, now in the UFC.
Of course, yeah.
So we all fought in that same card. And then my first fight was against a purple belt that was from, I think, Dan Henderson's school. So it was like heavy grappler. And I just kept getting taken down and just smashed. So like I just got demolished my first fight. Went the distance, full decision, but couldn't do much. And so I was like, yeah, it wasn't the best outing. I'm like, let's do some more. So I had 6 fights total. Went 3-3. And I think at a certain point I was like, I just like jiu-jitsu. I think I'm just going to stick with that.
Yeah.
Transition back and I kept competing on the jiu-jitsu front at that time and just stuck it out from there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that resonates with me. I'm a big fan of not getting punched in the face or elbowed in the face for that matter.
For sure.
This is not getting any better as I grow older.
Got to protect it.
That's it, yeah. But very cool. I mean, to be like, even just at the very beginning, right? Torrance is kind of like the origin spot, right? For so much jiu-jitsu history in Southern California, which when you zoom out to a place like Ottawa, where I'm from in Canada, we're very far from that, right? Physically and like culturally, not that the culture is all that different, but jiu-jitsu culture took a lot of time to reach. There, right? Whereas here, like, I don't want to say you guys are spoiled, but it's amazing to see how like, it just took to this place, right? Which is Greater Los Angeles.
I'll definitely say it for you. We were spoiled for sure.
I mean it in the best way. Like, we wish we were spoiled.
And not even in just like the academy choices, because we had a ton of choices. And especially now, there's just it's like tripled in the last 10 years. And so not even just in that front, but also distance wise. Like there was one in every corner. You could just drive no more than 10 minutes and get to a spot. And especially in a place like LA where a 20-minute drive could be an hour, to have that luxury on top of it was just tremendous. Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, I am, of course, a transplant along with so many other people that moved to Los Angeles for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But I do feel more and more, like I belong to the city because I do pay my dues on the 101 and the 405 on a regular basis.
Yeah. That's the trial period.
Right, yeah,
Once you survive traffic for like 5-10 years, then you're golden.
Oh, it's 10 years? Damn.
How far are you?
3.
3? Oh, okay. 5. We'll let it be 5.
Cool.
5 is a good one, but
nice.
I mean, there was enough of it that it could seem like that much time has passed anyway.
100%. Yeah.
It's a good amount.
So, so tell me, let's just go like straight for it.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to like, something about the no-gi, and I'm curious, like, was it just the no-gi? Was it the 10th planet structure? Was it a bit of both? Like, what is it that, you were like, I think I'm not necessarily that much into the kimono, or I want to do no-gi. Like, what was it that?
I think it was the combination. I think definitely, for my first time ever learning jiu-jitsu, there wasn't at that time like a particular structure that you would see kind of repeated in all the different academies. So when there was something that I could kind of map out and understand it, for me at the time, that was just the way I learned.
Right.
And so it was easier for me to be like, okay, here's position 1, here's position 2, they do this, here's position 3, which obviously nowadays it's changed, dramatically. It's nothing like that really. But, for me, that made sense. It stuck out to me a lot more. And then just when we started rolling, it was just more fun. Like, it just felt like we were moving a lot more.
Right.
It was kind of fun when you start sweating because then people are slipping and you just like are laughing at each other, like trying to do something. And you're like, you almost had it, but you slipped.
Yeah.
It's a little things like that. But I definitely had my fair share of gi. So like I tried out that first class, wasn't a fan, did no gi, got my blue belt, got my purple belt. And from purple belt, I started training in gi. We actually had a Jean-Jacques black belt that was at our school at the time, and he was teaching gi twice a week.
Okay.
And so I was there for all the classes. I was doing that, competed in gi at purple belt. I think I got like 3rd or 2nd or something like that.
Nice.
But I think I did 2 tournaments in gi, and that was it. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And took a break from gi, went back to no gi, got my brown belt, and then once I got my brown belt, I started training at the Mendez Brothers. I was living in Orange County.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you said, of course.
Yeah, so when I moved to Orange County, I went to 10th Planet, Costa Mesa. And so I was training with Casey, and I was a purple belt when I moved in there. And so I was training with him for a bit, and maybe about a year in, he promoted me to brown belt, and he was getting ready to move to Vegas at the time. So he was going to leave and open up the spot out there. And so once he left, we still had like our core group of guys that were there. And it just got to a certain point where I wanted to try the Mendez Brothers. I think the girlfriend I was with at the time wanted to like surprise me because I'd always chatted about the Mendez Brothers. For the longest time, I'd like kind of tried to mirror everything Hoffa did as far as like his passing game, which was crazy at the time for no-gi. I was like, I want to do all of that. And so like I was trying to, mimic it as much as I could. And so she like surprised me with like a month to train there. So I went and trained for the month. And then after the month was up, I was like, fuck it, we'll just keep going. So I did, I think 4 or 5 months there, and just got smoked every single day by like blue belts and everybody that came through. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, this is just, it was fun. I definitely learned a lot. I took a lot of their no-gi classes as well. And they just had such a unique approach to everything. I had never seen anything like that. There's techniques they showed that to this day I still have not seen other people show, that I still use in my game to this day, that I still teach to all my students. And it's all no-gi stuff. And it's just, the approach is totally different. The mindset, they see things from everywhere. So that was a huge experience that like really benefited. But for me, that like debate, right? Gi versus no gi. I'm just not a fan of gi, but I think gi is tremendously important. I think it adds such a huge piece of things that you'll never, ever, ever get from no-gi. One of which is being your base. If you don't have balance and like don't have base, you'll develop it in no-gi and you can make it like pretty strong. But in gi, when you have someone constantly pulling on you and you're, in full resistance mode, that base just skyrockets and it's totally different. And I feel it when I roll with gi guys, like I know what I'm doing no-gi wise and I can move them, but they're just so hard to move. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. So that's, one aspect of it. The other aspect is, with no-gi, because grips change so frequently, I see a lot of people get complacent with grips. And so like someone grabs you, you're like, it's fine. You just kind of like let them and you're like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
In no-gi, you give up a grip, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Like you can't give it up.
Yeah.
Right. So you see people fighting frantically for it. So then when you transition, someone tries to grab you in no-gi, you're like, nope, I'm just taking it back quick. And now it's hard for them to get anything going.
100%.
You're not accustomed to establishing. So I think there's a lot of benefit to it. It just wasn't friendly to me. Like my hands are super dainty. I just can't fucking handle it. I did, like when I was at the Mendez Brothers, dude, I was getting arthritis. Like I just couldn't open up my hands. I was like, man. I'm not even training that much. It was like 4 times a week. I know people doing 2-a-days. And so, just not for me. But, I always encourage people to do it. And I was actually talking to a few people. I was like, I think I might jump back into it.
Okay.
And just, I'm at a point now, I kind of just want to keep learning, and I don't get a chance to get out to Vegas that much. So, gi is new enough for me that I'm like, I could learn some stuff in there and, see how it translates. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Not committing to anything yet, but
just going to follow you around with the jacket.
Right. But it's in my mind.
It's funny because, you probably heard people like reason like, oh, well, it's more real. No-gi is more realistic in terms of like an actual altercation.
Yeah.
But to me, it depends where you are, right?
100%.
Like if you're in Canada, we're wearing jackets like 6, 7, 8 months of the year. Right. So like there's your grips.
Yeah.
But if you're like, in the valley where like it's already, sandals and shorts, then, it's a different vibe. But
that's the thing too. It depends where you train. I think like not, city-wise for sure, but like your academy, like how does your instructor structure your curriculum?
Right.
If it's very based on like sport jiu-jitsu where it's a ton of lasso guard, ton of De La Hiva, like
100%.
It's not going to make sense.
Yeah.
But if it's, straightforward jiu-jitsu, like I'm going to control you, I'm going to smash you, and I'm going to put you in the worst position possible.
Yeah.
You can do that gi and no gi, and that'll apply everywhere, no matter what.
That's
so
point,
I think it just varies on the structure.
Yeah.
It's big. Yeah.
So like, no-gi's exploded, right? Like unquestionably just one of the most popular forms of competition jiu-jitsu that seems to be attracting attention from like non-practitioners, right? As much as like we've also seen now events over the course of you've been training the better part of 20 years or
15
so.
years.
16 years,
yeah.
Okay. So just in that span though, right? Like you've seen the scene just like explode. Again, we're very fortunate to be in this city, but there's events probably every week, if not every second week.
Yeah.
Right. Events like Subversive that have matches that are pre-made, and it's a whole night to like large competitions like ADCC, CJI, right, and now the UFC is throwing its hat in the ring. If you had to say like why no-gi seems to be taking off in this way versus like the gi, for example, which is still a little bit more niche, right? Still IBJJF centric, I think, in comparison at least. Right. Like what is it about no-gi that is allowing it to have this kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say heyday because hopefully it's going to keep going, right? Like this explosion, this like growth. Right. What is it about no-gi for you?
So I feel like with the amount of events that are happening, it definitely, puts a better shine on it. I think it's tough. And again, this also just comes back to like how you train and how you're brought up through the ranks and stuff. But I do feel like majority of the gi matches, there's such like minute fights that are happening in gi that you don't see unless you train.
Right.
And you don't understand it unless you train.
100%.
And so, when there's like a stall out, to the average person, they're just stalling.
Yeah.
But to anyone else that trains, they're waiting for that one mistake to happen. And then they're looking to capitalize. So, just from a viewer's perspective, you're like, oh, they're just holding. Like, why am I going to watch this?
Yeah.
Whereas no-gi, when you have, the stars you have, like the Tackett brothers and just like the crazy matches within that, I think UFC plays a big role in that too. You have a lot of submission guys that were coming up. When Bryce Mitchell first came out, he was subbing people and like, setting fire to jiu-jitsu within the UFC. Charles Oliveira's already been doing that for, over multiple decades now.
Love Charles Oliveira.
So it's just a lot of like good jiu-jitsu in the UFC. People see it performed on a stage like that. And I think that's also another reason when you hear people say like, oh, it's more realistic in a fight.
Yeah.
It's because they're actually using it in a fight. You're like, well, duh.
Yeah.
But against an average person, doesn't matter what you train, no gi or no gi, grappling's grappling. You will know how to control a person, how to put them where you want them and keep them there. So
right. God forbid you fall, you're educated on that too.
Exactly. So I think the combination of all those things, the UFC definitely led, I think, more promoters into pushing the no-gi scene.
Right.
And then I think Danaher Death Squad had a big part in that.
100%.
I think Eddie launching EBI was kind of like the start of us seeing the different levels and degrees of no-gi jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Because we had already known about it through gi, at the time when Cobrinha and Hoffa were still competing and, Hamala was still competing. It was...
Hodge Gracie.
Yeah, those are the names you would want to go see.
Yeah.
And they weren't competing in no-gi, so you're like, well, if I'm going to watch high level, I'm going to watch gi because they're the ones doing it.
Right.
And then once these other guys started coming out, Gary Tonin and Gordon and all of them, and Eddie Cummings, it's like, yeah, I'm going to watch that now. Like they're, tearing through people so easily. You're just like, how?
Yeah.
And you just want to see the mystique, and it's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's part of it too.
100%. I'll agree with you. It's definitely more exciting. Like, I don't think I'm saying anything overly scandalous. Like, to me, anyhow, in my personal opinion,
and there's definitely gi matches I like Adam Warzinski, or I don't know how to say his last name, Warzinski. Dude, his matches are phenomenal. I'll watch that dude all day.
Yeah, that's because John Wayne sweeps everybody.
Yeah, dude, it's John Wayne.
know he's going to do it. And
his butterfly game is sick. It's just... Yeah. When you have someone that is, he's someone you can look at and be like, okay, he's got a game that everybody's familiar with, but he's consistently trying to make it better and expand off of it and like really improve. He's not just like, all right, I got this. I'm just going to rely on this and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'll never work on anything else again.
Yeah.
Like, so it keeps it exciting,
I think that's something that's interesting that I don't know that other sports necessarily. I mean, so in each sport, like once you stop evolving, I think is probably where you start to plateau. And people that continue to evolve will have eventually a leg up potentially. But for example, an Olympian wrestler or even more so in judo, right? They might have a small subset of techniques that they're the best in the world at, right? Whereas like they're of course black belts, there's no question, but that like 3-hit combo that they've got, they're going to use and try to implement and probably successfully implement the best ones, all the way to gold medal. Whereas jiu-jitsu doesn't really allow for that, I don't think. Or to me, it's a little bit different, right? Because like there's such a large vocabulary of things that could happen once we do hit the ground, right? Not even mentioning the standing part. Like, that it seems, I don't know, you tell me, like, you've definitely competed more than I have. Is it when you're approaching a competition, you have that mindset. Are you working on a small subset of techniques? Are you working on a general game to be able to like be prepared for anything? Like, what's your approach?
I think a lot of people just have natural instincts that they gravitate towards.
Okay.
And so I think in the beginning, when people are learning to train, you put them in a position, you give them certain goals to work on. You'll see each person react differently. And I think once you see that and understand it, you kind of know where to plug and play certain techniques or certain ideas and directions that they can go, right? There's some people that are more athletic. They're going to be trying to like, fly out of shit and just, whatever they got to do. And so there's a certain type of person you can see and be like, I could probably show you this because I'm watching how you're training. I have a student that trains here named Claire. She's a stunt woman and super athletic, super acrobatic. And I'm like, I could show you flying shit because you're the only one that's going to be flying and doing flying triangles and whatnot. So, I think giving it appropriately to the students that can handle it is a big part of that. So for me, I like to focus on the things that I'm already good at. And again, you can either expand on it technique-wise or you can expand on it setup-wise. And so I think when you're training in the same training room every day and people start to know your game, it's really hard to expand techniques. You have to change your setups. And so you start improving on that. And then once they start to get familiar with that, now it's like, okay, now it's forcing me into new positions where I have to introduce new techniques.
Got it.
Right? So it slowly expands itself naturally. Through having good training partners that are learning with you, like learning your game as you go, and then adjusting to it to where you're forced to, build out. I have there's days where I come in and I pick, like, what do I want to work on today? And what's the only thing I'm going to do? Like there was 2 months or 3 months where I came in and I just only leg locked people. Like I wasn't trying to pass. If I got on top, I just sat back down and
Must
just.
have been a long few months for your students.
Oh yeah. It was not fun. But also just to get a better understanding. I'm like, okay, you watch instructionals, but when I'm actually doing it, what are the reactions? What are people doing? What are, some instinctual habits that I have to kind of be aware of. And so, so I got really good at that and then started getting back to my main game, which kind of dwindled because I hadn't worked on it.
Of course.
I feel like you just go back and forth. But predominantly, defense should always be a consistent workhorse within your training game. If you can attack freely without worry, then you're dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you're nervous to get put into a bad spot, it's probably not going to be the best thing.
You're already on the back foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Yeah.
Make sure you take care of that.
How I'm curious now, like how do you structure your classes? Because you're paying close attention to the students that are in the class, right?
Yeah.
And seeing maybe what their affinities are, right? For flying shit, for example.
Right.
But how do you generally approach a class structure?
Yeah.
Like,
so I vary it up, and actually, since we've opened, we're coming up on 4 years now. I've changed my teaching style almost every 6 months.
oh, really?
I try one thing, see how it works. Some people have some success with it. Some people don't. Some people get frustrated. I'm like, okay, let me try something else. And, when you just have such a variety of instructors that are out there with like good teams, obviously Danaher was one of the main ones that really kind of broke down technique and really gave different perspectives on it. That became my style for a bit, where I was just very heavy on explanation, very heavy on like, here's some possibilities of things that could happen. And if that does, we got this. Then you had Dima go over to the B team and he ran like a combination of, live situationals with like what he deemed as low heart rate round, medium heart rate round, high heart rate round.
Okay.
Where you're kind of pushing the tempo and you're giving your students like a clear indicator of what you expect.
Right.
Right. So, I've taken bits and pieces from a lot of people. I've watched a lot of, just basketball documentaries because I just try and I'm trying to learn from different styles of coaches, not just martial arts coaching, because you're coaching a class, but when it comes to like a competition, you're teaching an individual student.
Yeah.
And so when I look at basketball, I'm like, how do you guys get an entire team to work together? There's something about that you need to have the relationship with the team for them to even give a shit what you're saying.
Yeah. 100%.
And then implement it in a way that all this big group of people understand, right? If there's like, let's say 20 players on a team, they all needed to know what's happening, how to, figure it out amongst themselves and then work together on it. And to me, that's just crazy. That's hard. And so I've definitely watched some of that stuff. So now I still vary it up. There's weeks where I'll be very drill heavy, very technique heavy. There's other weeks where I'll do, situational rounds, or as now people are proclaiming ecological training.
Yes.
Which is a whole nother
specific training.
Yeah, a whole nother story I can go into. And so now I incorporate that quite a bit. And now what I do within that is I'll still pick like kind of a theme to the class.
Yeah.
We'll do a lot of live training from the start. So the first 30 minutes of any class that I do is live. It builds up over time. So I still use, kind of what I got from Dima, which is low heart rate round. We're just warming up, just enough to get moving, break a little sweat, but you shouldn't be breathing heavy. Like if you have to open your mouth to breathe, you're going too hard. You should be able to nasal breathe, and that's it. Then we'll do a medium heart rate round. Okay, now I wanted to see you guys push the pace a little bit more, but we're not gunning for every position and fighting for every grip. And then that's usually the warm up for about 30 minutes. And then after that, I'm taking in what I see within those rounds, and that dictates my curriculum.
Oh, nice.
And so if we're doing back attacks, right, I'm going to set you up on the back with no hooks. I'm going to set you up on the back from turtle. I'm going to set you up on a 4-point position from standing. I'm going to set you up with one hook. I'm going to set you at like just different positions where we have the option to take the back. And I'm going to see what people are doing. And if there's common things that are being missed, like opportunities being missed, I'm going to point them out. We're going to drill that, go through it a couple times, and I'm going to put you back into the live. If I see someone almost going for something, I'm like, okay, here's a reaction we didn't see from the first round. Someone did this. It's a great reaction. It's going to stop you from like kind of moving. Here's how we stop that or counter it or what we can do. And so essentially I won't teach like that detailed of techniques, they've already gotten experience within the position. And so then, you know, when I see these little things pop up, I'm going to give you usually like 3 options, right? You have A, you have B, you have C. You can choose depending on what you feel you have the ability to do. Like sometimes body type is just weird and
100%.
just can't pull it off.
Yeah.
But then also depending on your opponent, if they're like way stronger than you and you just can't do this, you know, here's probably a better option.
Yeah.
And then I let them kind of go through it. And then once they pick, you know, what's like their move that they gravitate towards, then I come around and give details and,
Nice.
you know, polish it up. So
That's cool, yeah.
I've tried to change it from running it like a class to running it like a practice. So I'm trying to view it less in like, oh, this is a class setting.
Interesting.
No, it's a practice room. This is a
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
room. This is where we get better. And this is where, you know, the information needs to stick.
Right.
And if we're not getting that, then what are we doing?
Right.
You know, I want to make sure it's locked in.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
like that. Definitely, like, really eye-opening that you would also turn to other coaches, right? Like well-documented Phil Jacksons, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah, yeah.
right? In various sports, or even just in the martial arts. Like, I'm sure you've probably scoped out what Rafael Cordero was
Yep,
doing,
yep.
right? Like, why are their teams so successful where
Yeah.
others, you know, might have the talent in the room, but might not churn out that many
Right,
champions, right? What's the formula if there is one? That's really cool.
Yeah.
I definitely am not done learning ways to teach class. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
And that's, I think, one of the beautiful things about being able to go and to visit people and to train in different rooms, right? Like you get this exposure to different points of view.
Yeah.
Right? Very cool. Very cool. But classes are classes an hour and a half. Generally speaking, does that vary as well?
Yeah, it can vary as well. So usually it's an hour. So I would say I do an hour of instruction, and then, you know, after that it's just free training. You guys can do whatever you want.
Cool.
But there are days where we're in a flow, like we're going, and I'll go 30 minutes past.
Nice.
And I'm just like, if you guys got to go, you can go, but we're going still. Like,
yeah.
You know, if you guys can stick around, we're gonna make it worth it. You know, and so. There's just certain practices where I see like little breakthroughs. I'm like, all right, we're not going to stop, because if I stop now, we may not hit that point where it just is locked into your brain and it's going to be a part of your game forever.
Nice.
And so if I see those things coming, I'm like, all right, just a little bit more. I'm going to add a few more pieces. We're going to try it again.
Yeah.
Rotate partners, you know, get used to different body types. So, you know, we mix it up quite a bit. Yeah, I make sure in a class, you're not stuck with the same partner. We rotate frequently. You got to train with all body types, all skill levels, and just from like a, you know, community perspective, you get to meet everybody.
Yeah.
If you're stuck with one person, yeah, right? And it's like when you just train with one person the whole class, by the end of it, you're tired. And so you're not going to go around and meet everyone else.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have a little separation between the students. And
Right.
next time they come in, they get partnered with a random, then it's like standoffish and, you know, so it's just weird. So I feel like that's, one of the benefits of, you know, having that structure is I feel like we've built a room of people that are very comfortable with each other. And at least for me, when you're comfortable with somebody, I feel like you can train harder because you're not
100%.
worried about offending them or like them getting, you know, upset that you're going too hard.
Yep.
You know, when I was at my old school, I had 2 guys that, you know, we did MMA together with, and, you know, we would hang out all the time. We'd go to lunch. We would do this and that. In the training room, we would beat the fuck out of each other. Like all the moves that they say don't do, we did.
Right.
And so just cross faces, like anything you could think of, like we weren't being nice to each other. And it's easier when you have that friendship.
100%.
And so, if you don't have that, it's tough to train hard because you don't want to get in a weird spot with somebody.
Yeah. No, you're kind of like, it's a bit of a forge at the end of the day, right? Where you're like creating this environment that is propice is the word in French, like the appropriate environment, fertile ground type of thing.
That
right?
makes sense.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense, to be honest, based on how we, like, there's different ways of learning, right? Different people. I think we've learned this as a society, at least North American society, fairly recently, like maybe in the last 40, 50 years. There's a lot of different learning styles, right? And the way that I learn might not be ideal for you, and vice versa. And so it really seems like you're, you know, approaching it from a healthy point of view where like different learning styles will have the opportunity to take the information in, right? Like the other thing is that you're not, like there's intellectual and then there's eventually like internalizing it, right? Which you were speaking to, which I think is like I don't know if there's an exact formula, but there is a moment, right, where like you're like, this is part of me now.
Yeah.
Right? And but it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah.
So,
it takes time.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the job of the coach too, right? Like, I think there's a vast difference between an instructor and a coach. And, I think an instructor just shows up, teaches, and dips. I think a coach is responsible for really getting to know their students. In every aspect, not even just like, oh, what's your style of training? Like, what moves are you good at? Okay, I know how to help that. I think you need to learn their personality, because their personality a lot of times will dictate that. Like, if you're a real chill personality, usually those types of people are a little bit more tactical. They're a little bit more slow paced. They choose their moves quick, more carefully.
Yeah.
Some people are a little bit more loud and outgoing. They're just like, fuck it, blast double all day. And so that for me plays a big role also too when I'm like partnering people together. I'm not going to put people together I know have very different personalities that are going to clash.
Right.
It's just going to create a problem. There's no reason for that. And I keep them away from each other. So I think getting to know students in that regard helps. I don't just partner based off like size or skill. Personality plays a big part of that for me too.
Nice. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I did have a situation the other day where, one student, we were working from close guard, happened to be no-gi, and one student's legs were sufficiently short and the other person's midsection was sufficiently large that they're like, so what do I do if I can't close? Like, they're looking at me from the guard, right? Like, what do I do if I can't close my legs around? And I was like, I hadn't considered that.
Right. Yeah, I know. And that's the cool part, right? Like over time. So I got super fortunate in that, for as long as I've been training, so end of this year will be 16 years.
Nice.
And, but I've been coaching for like 12 of those.
Okay.
And so, when I was a blue belt, my coach made me coach.
Okay.
I didn't want to coach at all. Like, I was the furthest thing from that. I was super shy, not talkative, didn't feel like I knew enough about it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why the fuck does anyone want to learn from me? Like, this is silly. But we would train, and then after class, he'd pull out his phone and be like, hey, show me an arm bar. And he'd just start filming. And I'm like, okay. And it was just so awkward, but like, he was priming me to like learn how to like build myself as an instructor.
Right.
And so he did that quite often. There was times where he just had me lead the warm-ups and like, he would teach the class, and at the end, he's like, hey, show the one technique you were doing. And he'd make me teach in the middle of class. He brought me in to help him on privates. So like I got to hear how he coached and just kind of get, not only the information, but just his level of communication and how he was able to do that. So I had a lot of experience coaching, and even still, I try and just keep up with the new, right? There's always new in every aspect and in every field. So, how can I still be a better coach?
Right.
Right. So thankfully I've had the experience, but you do kind of get that over time of like, what scenarios are possible. So you're like, I got an answer for that right away. As soon as they're like, what about this? Like, don't be silly. You just do this. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that's fun.
Nice.
Start to get that over time.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's like something that I've seen a lot in on a professional side in project management is personas, right? In order to understand a group, right? And there'll be different types of people with different requirements, so that when you're designing whatever solution it is you're rolling out, you make sure that you have all your stakeholders well accounted for. And it seems to me like you're organically doing exactly that, right? So that, whether they're tall and lanky, young, fast, or any combination, and then on top of that, the personality layer, which you just mentioned, which I think is really cool. It sounds as though you're really positioning yourself to be able to cater to just about anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Provided that they have open ears and
for sure. And I feel like that gives us the advantage, and it's something I feel like a lot more schools and coaches should be thinking about. As we just talked about in the beginning of this, you're in a city that has like the most jiu-jitsu of any other city.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's jiu-jitsu everywhere. If you're just another school opening up and you're just offering jiu-jitsu, it's like, cool, I can get that 50 times in 2 blocks.
Right.
And so what's different? Like, what do you do? I think taking the time to, build a relationship with students, get to know them, understand them, and make them feel like, wow, this is really like my spot. Like, this is, my home. That's huge. That's a big part. I try and, even just reaching out, I think occasionally, and just, hey, I'm making a new rash guard design. You like long sleeves, right? Like, is this something you would like?
Nice.
I'll send like designs to students to be like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And just that on its own, they're like, wait, you give a shit what I think?
Yeah.
And it's just different, So
100%.
little things like that, I think, go a long way, and it's super underutilized now.
Nice.
So I feel like if people can do that, dude, you'll take off.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely another best practice there that you're implementing. That's very cool. I like that. I mean, you get the person buys in, right? They're like emotionally invested in the outcome of this rash guard that they weighed in on,
right.
or the move or what have you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the topic is. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So going back to competition, as far as like, I want to get your take on the current state of no-gi competition specifically, just because like it's happening a lot more and it's like more exciting.
Yeah.
Like, just
Right, just a little bit. Not much.
I mean, not every match is Terere with Roger Gracie. It's just not
right
in the gi. But in no-gi, I would like to get your take on a couple of things. For one, like risk taking is like heavily incentivized, right? And we see it in MMA too. Right. The rule set is one that like forces you towards action, right? And from the point of view of like a promoter, like a UFC or any other promoter, I understand it. It's entertainment, right? And there's a value there that they're trying to convey, and they're trying to sell at the end of the day. But like from somebody who loves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and just Jiu-Jitsu in general as an art form, grappling as an art form, is that something that's good? Is that something you'd like to see more of, or is that something that could potentially hurt the sport? Like, what's this highly incentivized risk taking? Like, how do you feel about it?
I feel like it's good. I think there's a place for it. I think, there's some people that are going to be more like prone to it. Like Mika Galval will go for anything at any point in time. And it's just like, with literally like no regard. Even Roberto, he did the flying armbar. I think it was Elder Cruz.
Crazy, yeah.
I think it's definitely a good thing. I think, you can't force somebody to do something, but I also think with the UFC too, they have some fights that come up that are just duds.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is just matchmaking. I think if you just understand matchmaking and like what to put together, you could have a crazy card from people that you don't expect to have a good matchup.
Right.
So I feel like that would probably, it kind of falls on the promoter a bit more. I think that's their contribution to that. I think, risk taking for sure. But sometimes just two dudes that have never gone against each other, or women that haven't gone against each other, that have opposing styles. Yeah. Right. Just that in and of itself, it's like, ooh, which one's going to win? Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. But as far as like the growth of no-gi, I feel like, and many people have touched on this before, where the people that watch jiu-jitsu do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. People that watch basketball don't fucking play basketball. Yeah. Right? It's got to be like 98%. Yeah, at least. And so thankfully, we're at a point where jiu-jitsu is growing. Yeah. And so I feel like the only way to get televised jiu-jitsu more popular is to get more students and people training in academies. Right. And so if you can do that, it's still like in like a pretty progressive, state right now, where with the UFC, for as many events as they're having, more people are like, oh, what's this jiu-jitsu thing? We get new students that come in, and I ask them what got you interested in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. A lot of them say UFC. Nice. The other half say Joe Rogan. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, just come train. Like, however you heard about it. But I think the more that happens, eventually you're going to have a big group of people that love jiu-jitsu, and then it's going to hit that, superstardom style of pay that athletes are looking for, and just level of events that people are looking for. But it's going to take a little bit. So I'm happy to see the UFC kind of like contributing to that. But they're also taking their current model, which is just, it's lower pay, which I get, but it keeps it on a more consistent basis where you can make that amount more often over time. Right. As opposed to just like, you do one match, here's $1 million. I don't see you compete till next year. Right. So it's a different model, but it could work for sure. I see there's quite a bit of conversation happening between, Craig Jones is at the forefront of it naturally, right? For sure. Around exclusive contracts and whether or not that actually helps the sport grow, right? He's also now coming at it from the point of view of a promoter, right? And you referred to, the onus being on the promoter. I think that's super interesting because they're really an important part of a card that you never really see unless they've done something really well or really wrong. Because there've been some grappler versus striker in MMA, for example, that are just a snooze fest. Right? Like you're just like, please, somebody just, you hope for the best.
Not
always the case.
Is it partly the rule set as well? Like, is there room for a different type of rule set, or are we on the right track? Do you think? Like,
I don't think there's a perfect rule set.
No,
I don't
okay.
think there's a perfect rule set. I don't think there ever will be. It's tough because, we've seen it now in different formats with not just like tournament style, but single match style, quintet style.
Yeah.
Like, there's just been such a variety, and they all have something about them that are really good. But yeah, every time you see a new rule set come out, you have the match and then you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't think about that. And then something happens and you're like, all right, well, we got to fix that. And then there's just always something that will always come up, I feel.
Right.
And so I think EBI kind of had the best rule set.
Okay.
And I mean, you saw it when, that first came out. Every other tournament that came out, like local, big shows, whatever, they were using that format. EBI overtime,
nice.
Here's the regular match, all subs legal. Overtime, you start in one of the two positions. So I think they did the best in kind of like starting that. And now CJJ doing like the rounds, 3 to 5 minute rounds. I think that's pretty cool, but I still feel, and it's tough, right? Because viewership wise, you're like, well, what's more intriguing?
Right.
I think from like an authentic jiu-jitsu perspective, you just roll.
Yeah.
Like whoever gives up, that's the winner.
No
there was
time limit.
Yeah. No one wants to watch fucking no time limit.
I think, so I'm kind of like a slow twitch muscle type of guy.
Yeah.
Just slow in general.
Right.
So like no time limit is my like best chance.
Did you ever watch Shugio?
No.
Not Yu-Gi-Oh.
No.
Shugio.
No.
It's on YouTube, so you can actually still find it.
All right.
It was actually done really well. This dude, Phil Schwartz, out in Portland, he put it together in his academy. And it was basically a weekend-long event. It was closed off to the public.
Okay.
It was only your coaches can come in. It was shot like very... like ominous, like they didn't really have lights. They had like the spotlights.
Okay.
And then it was just black in the background. So you're just watching two dudes roll in like the dark, essentially. But it was no time limit matches.
Okay.
And I think the longest match was like almost 2 hours.
Oh man.
That's insane. They literally had to stop the match, change their rash guards, wipe up the mat, and then start again because they were slipping so much they weren't going to get anything.
Right. You're so tired at that point, right?
Yeah. Keith Krikorian was on it.
Okay.
Ethan Krolenston was on it. There's a lot of good dudes on there. But I think it's still on YouTube.
Okay,
you can check it out.
Yeah.
But they did it well in that they kind of structured it like a TV show in a sense. And so they did, pre-fight interviews, post-fight interviews, almost like confessional style.
Yeah.
And they would do 2 versions. So they would do like a highlight clip down of the match.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, if you want to watch the full match, it's over here.
Right.
And it would be, 50 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so... that was a good format, I think, for, like I said, like a show style of event. But yeah, as far as just like, a one-night event that you're just trying to put on, I think WNO has it best right now.
Nice. Yeah.
They're doing a great job. The matchmaking is done really well. There's some good matchups in there. So I think that's one of the next one that's coming up alongside UFC.
Nice. Yeah, and the women are like, their matches and their visibility is increasing, it seems, a lot, right?
For sure.
Almost at a faster pace than the men at this point.
Yeah.
And it's cool when you see like the storytelling that also, goes along with it. Like I'm all in when it comes to seeing what Fionn Davies is up to next, right? Or Adele Fornerino, or Brianna St. Marie. Go Brianna, go Canada. Right? Like I feel like, even though I don't know them personally, I feel like I kind of do as an athlete, and I'm invested. I want to see, how they're going to do at the next tournament, how their prep is going, and that it connects neatly to, a competition. Whereas like, at least from a personal standpoint, it goes back to like, I don't watch quite as much MMA as I used to. Even the UFC, like, when it was Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and that era, like, I knew all of their backstories, and I was so heavily invested that for sure I was going to tune in to see the outcome, no matter what the outcome, right? Like Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. Right? Like, everybody knew the backstory.
That was a big one,
you
for
had
sure.
to find out. Unfortunately, it took 14 seconds. But anyways, we'll just erase that from my memory. But cool. No, I think, like, I think you're really onto something as far as matchmaking, as far as also the storytelling, but the structure being one that like favors you're able to go in and get what you want out of it, or you can sit down for the whole thing, type of thing. Right? Like, that's really interesting. If I shift back to what we were talking about in terms of like class structure and teaching and stuff, you're inevitably going to, in your class, have like various skill sets, right? But you're also going to have like people that want different things, right? And you spoke to the personality point of view, but like, how do you deal with maybe 1 or 2 or 3, whatever amount of people being like, I want to compete and I want to see how far I can go with this,
right?
And having them in the same class as somebody who's like, you know, just they got their 40, 50 hour week and they're coming in for their two classes a week type of thing, hobbyists. Like, you know, how do you approach that sort of like difference?
I mean, as far as the class structure, I'm still going to make it high paced.
Yeah.
And so there may be like a little less rotation within the student base.
Fair.
But hitting more positions more often, right? So one thing I know that AOJ does is they do actually a lot of 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
So very, very short rounds, but high output. And so they're getting used to kind of, you know, doing a match in small bursts. And I feel like that's really good for cardio. I think for a competitor, they're going to feel like they're pushing a pace.
Yeah.
And then for the average person, they're just going to be dead. And it's just like, you know, oh, fuck, I got my workout. Like, that felt good. I'm all set. Like, I could take some time off. So I think that's a big part of it. As far as like, you know, what to teach them, I don't think it always needs to be, you know, something they've never seen before.
Right.
You know, it's kind of a weird, like, it's like a weird position that I have where the things that I teach are like what I guess keeps people excited about my classes. I teach kind of boring shit, but I just give 1 or 2 details. They're like, fuck, why didn't I think of that?
Really?
And it's just that. So it's not even anything like, here's this new innovative position or like thing or, you know, combination. I just watch a lot of like tape. I watch a lot of matches, and then pay attention to like the subtleties of like, you know, what setups people are using, what reactions are happening, why something failed or worked, and so on. And that's what I'm bringing back in and giving to them.
Nice.
And so those little details are like, oh, okay, like that's what's actually selling it. So yeah, as far as that, I mean, I think just pace is one thing that you could always count on satisfying everybody.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if a high-level competitor doesn't learn anything, whatever, right? Like you're going to stick to your A game anyway and go out and compete.
Right.
Might as well have the cardio for it. So we're just going to push the pace a bit more and then be like, okay, like if you're breathing heavily, that means, we got a little more work, dude. Like, you know, we're going to go a little harder next time.
100%.
So I think that's a good balance.
Nice. Also means that, you know, that hobbyist who might be paired up with the competitor is only going to suffer for 3 minutes as opposed to 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Not going to make him do full rounds for sure. And it's going to be very, limited. Like, you know, what the whole ecological thing, you know, brings on is just you have specific goals. Once you achieve them, you just reset and you start again. Right. So it's not like going for an extended period where there is that much risk for injury. And so it's easier for a competitor and a hobbyist to go when you have a pretty clear stopping point.
Right.
So it's nicer that way.
So, okay, so you mentioned the ecological approach a couple times. I want to get your take on it just because it, you know, it stirred up some discussion online, right?
For sure.
And forums and everything else, all up in arms. Over basically, in my humble opinion, just different nomenclature for something that already existed. But like, is it a new approach? Is it something that you've implemented? Is it something you'd already been doing? Like, what did you, when you first saw it come across and start to gain traction on like Instagram and just socials and stuff, like what was your take on it?
Initially, I fucking hated it. And the only reason was just because it was like a buzzword. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was a new thing. It was the new shiny object that everyone's like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. And for me, the only time it like really became, you know, talked about was when DeAndre Corbet beat Keith Krikorian in the ADCC trials. And it was still a close match. But even from there, as soon as DeAndre won, everyone's like, fucking ecological. Like, it's the way. I'm like, all right, cool. I definitely, you know, since that whole like debate started, there wasn't much explanation about it. And since then I've watched literally every single Greg Souders interview or like class, you know, or YouTube video that he's put out talking about it. Now that I like see it, it totally makes sense. Okay. I think initially what was happening was, 1, I hated the buzzword. 2, I was watching people do it, and now after learning about it, they were doing it incorrectly. Right. And so they weren't really, you know, utilizing it to its fullest ability. But I'm still a big proponent of, for as long as we've been training, we have experiences on the mat where I think you can tell somebody, hey, if you do this, 90% of people are going to react like this.
Right.
And so you definitely can't predict every single reaction.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, positions where your partner only has two choices.
Yeah.
It's like they're really like trapped in a way where it's like, where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Why would I not tell you, hey, they're probably going to go here. If they do, you got this. If they're probably going to go here, you got this. Right. It's like, to me, that's common sense. But I definitely disagree with the base of ecological being that they don't teach any technique.
Right.
Totally disagree with that. I don't think anyone's naturally going to figure out K-guard on their own. Obviously there's people that discovered it to begin with, right? And that was just through, trial and error and figuring it out. But it's like, now that we know it, why wouldn't you teach it and then have somebody else expand off of it and come up with something new? So I definitely use both sides. I think I was already using ecological, not as detailed as I've come to learn it to be.
Right.
And so now I've like refined it and made it more appropriate. It's definitely great for a beginner's class. Right. It's very, very simple to teach. But it does require you to understand jiu-jitsu like more in depth.
Right.
I think where I was seeing it get implemented incorrectly, where it was just like pass or sweep.
Right.
That doesn't tell me shit.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And so, it was just kind of being used poorly. And then after all the explanations came out, I'm like, okay, I have a better handle on it. And so now I use that kind of as like the warm up, and then I combine that with some technique, and then we'll go back to it at the end.
Yeah.
So, you're getting technique, you're learning something, you're sweating tremendously and getting tired halfway through. And, we try and make it fun. The 3 combination is a perfect class.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think it's interesting that, like, you say you're not going to necessarily just pick up K-guard on yourself, by yourself. And you make me think of a colleague of mine who happens to be on the season 2 of the podcast. He is a reverse engineer. Like he just this is the way he learns, right? And he's gotten very good at it. And he's applied that part of his personality to jiu-jitsu completely, right? So his approach is one that he deconstructs whatever's happening to him and then understands it and then puts it back together. He might put it back together differently or, what have you. And that works for him. It does not work for me. Like I don't, I can't, I could maybe eventually, but it's definitely not how I initially approach something. So I greatly appreciate somebody being like, you do this because that's going to happen. And then this is why I'm saying that it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I think it goes back to our conversation on learning styles, right? Right. There's something in it for everybody, but it's not a one-size-fits-all.
No, for sure.
Thing, right?
And so I think that's where the coaching comes in, right? Like if you pay attention to where people are struggling, where people are succeeding, but then again, making sure that you focus on who it's working for and what it is that's working for them, right? Because like you said, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So if I show something, someone picked it up and got it, I know that student in particular, I can just show you shit. I don't have to teach you. I can just show you can do it. Cool, we're good. If there's somebody else that I see like, okay, if I like demonstrate it on them and they feel it and now they understand it, now I'm going to go to you and do that every time. Right. So I think that's a big part of it too.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. No, there's a lot to be said about, that coach's perspective. And I also like the distinction you made between an instructor and a coach, which I think is very relevant. So, I'm going to now maybe have to look at some Phil Jackson and some other coaches. You know what I mean?
For sure.
The cool part about jiu-jitsu, and we talked about it earlier, is that, like, it's not like I can text Michael Jordan and be like, hey, you want to play a game or something? But you can visit all of these schools. I can text you and be like, hey, is it cool if I come train? And all of a sudden, there's a very rich experience of learning available to anybody who wants to do jiu-jitsu. Right. So I really enjoy that about
for sure.
Community. Speaking of, basically the community, you've also, so you mentioned to me, like, you had 12 years or so out of the total jiu-jitsu that you have, that you've been coaching, so a long period of time. And I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, more recently you've also become a business owner in terms of New Ground. Right. So how, like, Was there a mindset that changed for you, or like what made you decide to kind of take that leap of faith, I guess, for lack of a better term? You know what I mean?
So it's something, again, when I first started coaching, I didn't want to coach. So, it was kind of like a forced scenario. And then once I started teaching classes, there was just, an outpouring from some of the students. I would get like, DMs and messages of just what a great class that was.
Nice.
And, obviously you hear any of that, it makes you feel good, right? So
100%.
After a certain amount of time, I was like, maybe I'm pretty good at this. Like, I hated it in the beginning. I'm like, maybe I should like figure this out and just, figure out how I can get better at it. So yeah, it was maybe, maybe 5 years in that I kind of had like, I think I want to like teach and just like have my own school and, figure that out. And so, probably within that period, I was, I think by 6 or 7 years, I was a brown belt. And, I was trained from 10th Planet originally. So that was always going to be, the thing. I was like, I'm going to open up a 10th Planet. It's going to be a no-gi school. And that's going to be the whole shtick. And so there was a certain point in time where I was like, okay, I think I'm going to try and open up. I started like looking at buildings. I had an investor that was going to help me out. And, the more I was like searching for it, I just kept getting in my own head. I'm like, fuck, I want to be a black belt though. Like before I open up, I need to be a black belt. That was just like, for whatever reason, I'm going to move because this thing's weird. For whatever reason, that was just like a thing for me. Yeah. And, I tried to like hold on for that as much as I could. So I basically paused on it. And I was like, I'll just keep waiting. Kept waiting. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, 2-3 more years went by. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do it again. Was still a brown belt, but I was like, fuck it, let's just go. Yeah. And so I started looking for spots, and I actually found one in, I think it was Calabasas. Somewhere around that area. Yeah. And I went to Eddie and basically got shut down. He was like, I've changed the rules since. You have to be a black belt now if you want to open. And I have one of my black belts who has that area reserved. So you can't go there. And so I was like, okay, so what do you suggest? He's like, well, you either have to go really far up north or, down south, but then you have like the San Diego guys. So you have to, talk to them, make sure you're not like intruding on their space and so on and so forth. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll figure it out. So that halted that for a bit. And then I actually had a conversation. I used to shoot video for EBI and like combat jiu-jitsu and stuff. Nice. And so I ended up having a conversation with Brandon McCaffrey. And I was like mentioning the whole spiel about it. And I was like, so I don't really know what to do. It's like, he told me I got to move. So I'm like trying to figure out like, where could I live? And he's like, well, where could you live? Like, could you see yourself in Vegas? I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I don't deal with heat. I'm just not a fan. I'm good. So we started looking at different spots. I was like, I've been to Washington. Like I liked it out there. Okay. And then he goes, well, Nate Washington, like Washington State? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, that's like really up north. Yeah. And as soon as I said that, he goes, well, Nate Orchard's out there. He goes, that would be a good combination for you guys. Didn't even think about it. Completely forgot he was there. So I ended up reaching out to him and, pitched the idea. I was like, hey, I'm trying to open up a school. Can't do it out here. Like, can I go out there and basically do the marketing for your school to grow it to a place where we could potentially open up a second location out there. He loved the idea. I flew out there. We had a meeting. We chatted. And by the time I flew back, like I was looking for apartments. I was getting ready to move and the whole spiel. And so at the time, my girlfriend, now wife, was in school. So she was getting her master's. And, by the time I made that decision to go to Washington, she was 100% on board, supported it fully. And so I basically asked him, like, when do you need me out there? He's like, well, I'm getting the keys to a building. Like, I'm supposed to get it within the next couple of weeks. When I get it, how long will it take you to get out here? I was like, as soon as you get the keys, give me a week. I was like, I'll be there like within 10 days of you getting the keys. Yeah. A week later, he got the keys. I was like, fuck, I gotta move. So literally found an apartment, booked the U-Haul, booked everything. And ended up driving out there, signed my lease, slept on an air mattress, flew back the next morning at like 5 a.m., spent the day loading up the U-Haul, left at 3 a.m. the next day. Holy moly. And then drove, 19 hours to Washington. Just about, yeah. And got there, literally set up shop. 2 days later, COVID hit. Oh, and so literally, as I got into my apartment, Washington State was the first one. Bro. So they were like, Washington's shut down. To stay at home, You're not allowed to do anything.
Damn.
And so
I completely forgot about COVID.
Yeah, right, I know, right? It's such a far gone thing. You're just
I got trauma from that.
We did that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it was literally.
Damn, you're kidding, bro.
Yeah,
That's
so the
terrible.
same week I got my apartment, same week I moved out there. And so, at the time, no one knew how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, whatever.
2 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, who cares? So, I went to the new spot and we were just doing construction. So we were building everything, we were stripping everything out, building the mat space. And so the first month I was there, I was just doing that. Everything was closed and I was like, once I hit the month mark, I was like, all right, this is going a while, but maybe at a certain point it'll, kick back into swing. And 2 months goes by and I'm like, fuck, I need a job.
Yeah.
Like I can't just, be out here with nothing. So I ended up getting a job and I was doing marketing for a different company. And then by the time, everything was done and we were getting ready to open, still everything was closed.
Yeah.
And so we started doing, sessions with like the coaches and like maybe a couple of students. And I don't think if anyone remembers how bad it like really was, but neighbors were calling the cops on us.
Oh man.
Like we had the windows boarded up completely, but they were seeing people go in and out and they just called the cops multiple times. They would show up and be like, dude, you guys can't do this. I'm like, it's just us. Like it's like 5 people max.
Yeah.
And so, we secret trained for like 6 months.
Yeah. I know of a bunch of people that did.
Yeah. And so we kept doing that. And then, so again, from that process of, I want to open up, it's not time. I want to wait to get my black belt.
Yeah.
A couple years later, all right, it's time. No, you can't. You got to move. Move to Washington. Nope, sorry, COVID hit. You're not going to open up.
Holy cow,
and
bro.
so
I had no idea.
Right. And so I spent the year there. Ended up not training like the last half of that because I was just flooded with work and I was just trying to make money. And so when I moved back, my wife had just gotten our apartment in Sherman Oaks. She had been there for like a month before I had moved back. And I was fortunate enough to keep my job when I moved back. So they let me keep my marketing job for like 2-3 more months while I was here because they couldn't find anybody. So it was like a perfect, marriage where I could still make money and they still had their assets they needed. And the whole time I'm looking for another marketing job out here. I was like, well, the dream's gone. Like, fuck it. We tried and, it is what it is. And then my buddy Andy, Andres, who you just met, he texted me out of the blue and goes, yo, I hear you're back in California. I was like, yep, I just moved back like, a week ago, whatever. He's like, cool, they're starting to do competitions again. I want to compete. I don't have a coach. So we started training. I bought a 5x3 rollout mat.
Yep.
We were training in my 1-bedroom apartment. I would just like push the couch back, move the coffee table, and just in the living room. So we were training there, 4 days a week. And then his brother was eventually like, yo, I got mats in my garage, so you guys can come train there.
Nice.
So we went there, started training. His brother jumped in. Somebody else caught wind. They jumped in. And it ended up being like 6 of us, in a garage training. And we were getting ready for a session, and I was like, hey, would you guys care if I opened up and it wasn't a 10th planet? Like, were you guys like attached to that, or do you give a shit? All of them were like, bro, we don't care. Like, we just want to fucking train.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they said that, I was like, all right, let's think about it.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to my wife. We literally sat on the couch. We talked for like 2 hours, went through an entire bottle of wine. I was hammered by the end of the night. And we started just like coming up with names. We're like, fuck it, let's just see. We started going through everything. We made a list. And while intoxicated, we decided on new ground.
Okay.
And I immediately pulled out my laptop and bought the corporation.
Nice. Yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck, I guess we're doing it.
I love it.
It was like 11 p.m. at night. And I just went on the website. I was like, hey, we got a corporation now. So we got to do it. And from there, just didn't look back.
Very cool.
Literally found a spot, started building everything out. We actually got married and opened up the same year.
Nice.
And so planning a business and a wedding was just chaos.
I was going to say, some part of there is masochistic a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Right? I don't know why we thought that was a good idea. They were like, let's just get it out of the way. And
I get it.
That was, that was a stressful year for sure. But so that's what led to this. It wasn't
very cool.
Anything I had planned to do. My whole goal was 10th planet all day, no matter what. But really, I was just in love with Nogi. I think I enjoyed 10th planet too because I've just had always met cool people there. Yeah. And that was really the only thing I had ever cared about. So, of course, when this opened up, that was just my, mindset shift was just, let me just teach the best classes possible that I can.
Yeah.
And at the time I was rusty. I was like, I hadn't taught in so long. I was like, I got to get back into this.
Fair enough.
And so, I just made that like kind of the core focus in the beginning, and that drew in a lot of people. And then eventually I was like, all right, now I got to figure out this business shit and, learn the back end stuff, and still learning, definitely still learning.
Something that came through. I'm really glad I asked, because like I had no idea you went through that whole saga. To, be where you are now.
It was a mission for sure.
Yeah, which is remarkable. Something that came up in a previous episode in the first season was that like, you might actually know Professor Mark Bradford, West Adams. He is talking about, basically needing to replace yourself at a certain point in time, so that you can tend to other parts of the business, right? And it's not easy if you don't have the resources readily available to you. And growing a jiu-jitsu coach from the ground up is not like a couple week training session.
No,
right? Like it's a downright decade, maybe, right? Maybe less. If you really have a system to it, and a specific approach that works, it's been proven, maybe it's shorter. But that's something that like you really don't see in like, let's say, corporate America, for example, right? Like it's you got a certification, you got a little bit of training on the job, and then you just go out there and do it, right?
You're
to the best of your ability. But
and that's the crazy part too that no one even talks about is like you see now all these Pilates schools and yoga studios, they're just opening up like crazy.
Yeah.
And you can train someone in a short period of time and put them in, and they're, active and motivated, and they can get the job done.
Yeah.
But like, look at the Mendes brothers, their school is beyond successful of any other academy, I think, in the world.
Yeah.
And it took them 10 years to open up a second location. Maybe like 12, probably more.
Oh, they just did, didn't they?
They just did.
Mission Hill, no.
Mission Viejo.
Yeah,
so it's been maybe I think that spot's been maybe less than a year.
Yeah.
But they just opened it, and like, they've been around since 2010 or 12 or something like that. Like, so it's not easy to build people up. It takes a lot of time, and so second location definitely doesn't interest me at all. I feel like you can spend a lot of time and max out a place. Like the school we were at in Van Nuys, we were there for 7 years. It was a very small mat space. Very, very small mat space. And we, maxed it out and made the most of it in that time. So our space is a pretty good size. I feel like we can spend a good amount of time, and there's no rush to
100%. That's got to feel good too,
Yeah.
Nice.
Just want to take my time and, nurture this baby.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Nice. So I want to make sure that we take a couple minutes to learn about where you're located, what your website is, what your class schedule is like, or even just where to look it up.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You can find us. So we're in Sherman Oaks. We're off the 101 on Van Nuys. As soon as you exit, it's that first block right here. Our entrance is in the back. So we've had a lot of people that come visit. They park on like that main street and they go up. They're like, fuck, I can't get in.
Yeah.
Entrance is through the back. But if you guys want to check it out, like a schedule, it's on our website, which is just newgroundjiujitsu.com. A lot of our updates happen through our Instagram. So newground_jiu-jitsu. There's actually another New Ground Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Okay.
So don't follow that one. I don't know them. I'm sure they're cool, but they're in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
So they're in Dublin.
Yeah.
But we've had people tag us like inadvertently thinking it was us. So
right.
just to avoid that confusion. So newground_jiu-jitsu. So we have classes, every day of the week. We're open 7 days a week. Generally 2 in the morning. We have 6 a.m. and 11, and then evening time 6 and 7:30. So we try and make sure it's, spread out enough that everyone can get in, whether it's before work, after work.
Yeah.
You want to take a lunch break and, ditch your meetings. Like, we're set up for you guys. So
100%. Ditch your meetings. Come to Ground Jiu Jitsu.
Right. It means more if you cancel meetings. I get a little touch in my heart.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you guys canceled work for me.
Your priorities are correct.
Right. Jiu-jitsu all day.
Nice.
For sure.
Mike, I got to thank you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah,
this was
absolutely.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
And you guys come train. 100% worth it. Beautiful space, beautiful location, great coaching. Thank you so much for being
here.
with
Thank you, brother. I'm with it.
Oh, man.